You've heard plenty of definitions of marketing, and most of them boil down to something like get attention and turn it into sales. And while that's not wrong, it doesn't tell you how. It doesn't give you a structure that you can follow when you're in the trenches day in and day out, creating websites and landing pages and ads. It doesn't tell you what you should actually say to the people that you can reach and turn into customers or clients. Here's my definition. Marketing is the broadcast of a strong argument. A lot of marketing definitions will describe outcomes or marketing channels or tactics. This definition describes the underlying philosophy. But let's talk about that word argument because I know that carries some baggage. When most people hear the word argument in our modern day, they're thinking about road rage or a cell phone flying across the room. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the word argument as it has been used for over 2,000 years, going back to the days of the ancient Greeks and Aristotle. Argument is a set of claims backed by proof that lead the recipient, the person hearing the argument, to a logical conclusion. Think of a lawyer in a courtroom. She's not screaming at the jury. She's making a case. Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C. She makes that case methodically, and at some point the scales tip and the jurors say, okay, we believe it. That is argument in the classical sense. It's making a case, a logical, honest, structured case for why somebody should believe what you believe about your topic, and where the natural conclusion of believing that is working with you. Now, let me contrast that with what most marketing teaches. And you've seen this before. It's everywhere. It's what I learned coming up. It's what I call marketing from the psychology hacker school of thought. So in the psychology hacker school of thought, your potential customer is an irrational creature who only makes decisions based on emotion and cognitive biases. And your job as the marketer is to leverage those biases until they buy from you. You've seen this language everywhere. You've got to spike their dopamine. You've got to trigger loss aversion. You've got to manufacture urgency. All of it assumes that what you're supposed to do is to circumvent your prospect's natural reasoning rather than engage with it. I understand why the psychology hacker approach has become dominant. It's really the waters that we've been swimming in for the past couple hundred years. But two things about that. One, the proponents of this method don't want you to know that it really doesn't work as well as they say it does. If it did, then why aren't they all billionaires? And two, I find it deeply unsettling, not just for ethical reasons, which are obvious, but when you treat your customer like a lab rat, you rarely attract your best clients. The people who buy from you because you spiked their dopamine and hacked their neurotransmitters are rarely the high quality clients that you like to work with, the ones that refer you, that tell all their friends about you. The psychology hacker approach doesn't work in the long term because it's built on a broken foundation. But there is a better way, and it comes down to understanding why people buy in the first place. They don't buy because of emotions. They buy because of beliefs. Emotions are downstream of beliefs. Think about it. If you're in your bed at night and you hear a bump in the dark and you believe that you're alone, what are you going to feel? Terror. You're going to be very scared. But what if you just adopted a puppy and now you hear that sound? Well, now you're going to feel affection, or in some cases, annoyance. This is a critical distinction because it changes everything about how you approach marketing. Instead of asking, what emotions do I need to trigger? You want to ask the most important question in marketing, which is, what does my customer need to believe in order to buy? That question points directly at your job, which is to build those beliefs. And how are beliefs built? Through argument. I know I'm slaying a sacred cow here because everyone says customers buy an emotion, but it's those phrases that we mindlessly repeat that demand the most scrutiny. Let me give you an example from my own life. So when I first got into marketing, when I was trying to leave my job in the energy industry, I started out by selling online home beer brewing courses to beer enthusiasts. And I marketed them the way you would expect. You're going to get this module and this lesson, and you're going to be in a Facebook group, and you're going to brew better beer. And that did okay. But then I made a discovery. I had become a certified beer judge. I would judge home beer brewing competitions. And there's a lot of training, believe it or not, that goes into that on how to taste and evaluate your beer. And through doing that, the quality of my own homebrew just went through the roof. Much better tasting beer. And so I asked myself, what's going on here? What's the argument that I can actually make? And the argument was this: if you want to improve your beer, improve your palate. Notice what this does. It's not that feature list. It's a claim that I can make. It's a stand that I'm taking that someone can disagree with. And when my reader hears my argument and the evidence that I present and they buy that argument, they're halfway to buying my course. Notice what else this does. And this is a cool way that marketing actually informs the product. When I make that argument that the way to improve your beer is to be a better beer taster, now I know it needs to be in those modules. Those modules need to be about how to improve your beer tasting abilities. So the argument comes first and the features come second. And that angle performed far better when it came to sales of my home beer brewing courses. Let me give you another example from a client that I helped in a totally different industry. So I helped Layla Garani, an awesome person who teaches Excel. And she was doing pretty well before, but her messaging was generic and the competition was catching up to her. So her messaging was pretty much learn Excel, advance your career. Not bad, but we could do better. And so we surfaced the argument that already existed, which was Excel had transformed. What started out as a simple tool had really turned into a power tool, and most people in her audience were only using a fraction of it. So that became her claim. That became a stand that she took. And when her readers heard that, it resonated with them because they had felt that gap before. They suspected that they weren't fully utilizing Excel. So she didn't need to create a new product. She just needed a sharper argument, and her sales success after that transformation showed the effect of doubling down on that argument. So what does argument-driven marketing look like in practice? It starts by creating what I call your core marketing argument. That is the central claim that you make about what it takes for success in your field. It's backed by proof, and it leads to the conclusion that working with you is the obvious next step. Everything downstream of that, from your sales page to your newsletters to your social posts, are evidence in support of that argument. Each one builds another belief in the mind of your prospect. Those beliefs accumulate until you hit that tipping point where working with you is the obvious choice. And this is what I mean when I say that marketing is the broadcast of a strong argument. You create your argument upstream, and then you distribute it downstream. The argument is the source, and your website and your newsletter and your social posts are the channels that distribute your argument. The practical benefit of argument-driven marketing that I've seen time and time again is this: it makes marketing easier. You stop staring at the blank page. You stop second-guessing everything you post. You have confidence in the fact that every piece of content that you put out there is building a belief in the mind of your prospect. Every piece of content you post is advancing the sale. And what this means is that you don't need to create as much content because each piece of content you publish does more work. That is argument-driven marketing. I hope this helped. My name is Billy Bross, and if you want to go deeper into argument-driven marketing, check out the resource below this video. Thank you.